everybody. I want to talk to you today about being the right one versus waiting for the right one. A lot of times we say we're waiting for the right one, but then sometimes God is waiting on us to be the right one. Becoming the right one means knowing your purpose. Why you were born? Why were you put on the planet? Do you feel like you're just here to take up space? Do you feel like you're just waiting for your knight in shining armor to come and sweep you off your feet? Or if you're a guy, do you feel like you're just waiting to find Cinderella? Or you feel like you're waiting to find Snow White and kiss her and so she'll wake up, or again, find Cinderella and find that shoe and put it on her foot. Well, as we know, those are called fantasies. Those are called fairy tales. It's not that happiness does not exist. It does exist. With God, all things are possible. However, there are prerequisites, things that we need to do to prepare for what we say we're waiting for. Take Ruth, for example, in the book of Ruth in the Bible. Here was a woman that lost her first husband. He died. And then basically she had nowhere to go. Well, she did have somewhere to go. She could have chosen to remain in her state, the constant state and surroundings that she was familiar with, or she could have chosen to walk by faith and do something different. And she chose the second choice, which was to walk by faith. And she decided that she would follow and serve the God that her mother-in-law was serving. And she had no ulterior motive. She knew the woman was far too old to have another child. And even if she did have another child, there wouldn't be enough time to wait for that child to grow up and to marry him. So it wasn't that she had an ulterior motive, like, oh, I'm going to follow my mother. Maybe I'll find a husband in that land. Her desire was to be a blessing to the woman who had blessed her. Her mother-in-law was a blessing to her. She had also seen the faithfulness of God in her mother-in-law's life. She served a different God than her mother-in-law, but her mother-in-law's life was so blessed that she wanted to serve her God. So she chose to pick up and follow her. And in doing so, she was becoming the right person. What God was doing was he was shaping and molding her character. He was developing her into the person that he wanted her to be. Now, God knew all along that she was going to marry this great man, this wealthy man, this prosperous man. But he couldn't just give her the man and she didn't have the character to match the blessing that was coming. So oftentimes God is developing our character. He's molding our character. I mean, think about it. Let me try to bring this into practical terms. Let me try to bring this into 2018. Suppose that you've been praying for a man who's wealthy, who loves God with all his heart, who is gentle and yet firm when he needs to be. You've been praying for all these wonderful, wonderful attributes. But here you are with this character. You're, let's say, impatient, moody, a spendthrift. You just have all of these, basically all the opposite qualities of that which you're praying for. Well, what does God need to do? He needs to help you become the right one for the one you're waiting on, So sometimes the process is simultaneous. God is shaping you into the woman or into the man he wants you to be while you're waiting on the person God has for you. But I think a better focus, instead of saying I'm waiting, I think a better focus is becoming. Become the one that God has designed you to be. There's a lot more fulfillment in that. There's a lot more joy in that. There's a lot more peace in that focus. There's a lot more purpose in that. And I'm telling you something, as you begin to allow God to mold you into the one that he wants you to become, you begin to have this attitude, not a negative one, but you begin to have this attitude where you're like, look, I am not settling for junk. I'm better than that. And what happens is in the process, he also takes away desperation. You're no longer desperate. You're settled in your spirit. You're convinced and persuaded that you are a good thing. And if you're a man, you're convinced and persuaded that you are the priest, prophet, and king that God has called you to be. And you begin to settle into that realization. You begin to settle into that revelation. And before you know it, the one you've been waiting on shows up. Why? Because you've become the right one. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. And it doesn't mean that the one that you're waiting on is perfect. It just means that you've developed enough to be able to receive that which God has wanted to give you all along. So there you have it. Waiting on the right one versus becoming the right one. And I'm telling you, go on ahead. and become the right one so you can receive the one who's waiting on you. All right. God bless you.